This is the story of a man named Mateo. He lived in the quiet countryside of Loncopué, Argentina. His home was like something out of a fairy tale, with wide open fields, endless skies, and cattle moving slowly through the grass. Every morning, he woke at sunrise, poured himself a cup of coffee, and stepped outside to begin his day. He cared for the animals, fixed fences, and walked the land. The routine never bored him. In fact, he found comfort in it. Mateo had always felt more at ease with animals than with people. But country life was not always simple. Cattle could fall sick, storms could damage crops, and nights often felt lonely and silent. That week was especially hard. Several of his cows were sick with pneumonia, and he had stayed up many nights trying to keep them alive. His body ached from exhaustion, and his spirit felt heavy. He thought things could not get any worse, yet life had other plans, and something truly unexpected was waiting for him. One morning, the sun was spreading its light gently across the fields when Mateo slowly opened his eyes. He felt unusually tired and decided to stay in bed for a little longer. The silence of the countryside made it tempting to drift back to sleep. But suddenly, a sound from outside his house caught his attention. It wasn't the familiar lowing of cattle or the bark of a stray dog. Mateo's heart quickened as he walked down the steps and scanned the yard. His eyes caught movement in the bushes, and he froze. Nestled among the leaves was a creature unlike anything he expected. About the size of a turkey, it had messy gray fluff, a bald head, and wings too large for its fragile body. At that moment, Mateo realized the truth. It was a condor chick. It was a shocking moment for Mateo because condors are not ordinary birds. They are the giants of the sky, with wings so wide they can stretch over 10 feet. These powerful birds live in the mountains, soaring high above valleys, gliding with the winds, and watching the world far below. To see one up close was rare, but to find a helpless chick inside his yard felt almost impossible. Mateo stood frozen, wondering how such a bird had ended up there. People hardly ever saw condors unless they looked up to the sky. Now one of them was lying weak on the ground before him. At first, Mateo's instinct was to stay away. Condors were wild animals, and wild animals did not belong in human hands. But then the chick gave another cry, softer than before, and tried to move. One of its legs dragged helplessly, and after a few steps, it collapsed. The sight broke through Mateo's hesitation. His heart ached as he watched the creature struggle. Slowly he crouched down, reaching out with care. To his surprise, the bird did not fight back. It was too weak, too tired, and too hurt to resist. In that instant, Mateo felt something change inside him. He knew he could not walk away. He would help this bird no matter the cost. He decided to name the chick Luna. He promised he would not treat her as a pet or try to tame her. Instead, he would give her a chance to live, a chance to grow strong, and one day return to the wild where she belonged. He built a safe place for her in his shed, away from the cattle, and brought her water and scraps of meat. Every few days, he walked into town to collect bones and leftovers from the butcher. Slowly, Luna began to grow. Her wings stretched wider, her feathers turned darker, and her sharp eyes followed every movement. A bond formed between them. Whenever Mateo came near, Luna would hop closer, nudging his hands with her beak. Sometimes she spread her wings proudly, as if to show her progress. Mateo smiled, grateful he had made the right choice. Yet deep down, he knew one truth. Luna did not belong to him. She belonged to the sky. And one day, without warning, she was gone. One afternoon, when Mateo had finished his work and returned home from the ranch, He noticed something was wrong. Luna's space was empty. At first, he thought she might be nearby, hiding in the grass or resting in the shade. He searched every corner of the yard, calling her name again and again. But no matter how far he looked, there was no sign of her. His heart grew heavy. He had always known this day would come, yet the silence around him felt unbearable. Luna had grown strong, and it was only natural for her to return to the wild. Matteo told himself this was good. Still, he couldn't stop wondering if she would ever remember him. The fences needed fixing, and the long days blurred together. Then, one afternoon, as the blazing sun burned down on him and a friend while they checked the cows, something strange happened. The light above them dimmed. A huge shadow swept across the field. Matteo raised his head, squinting at the sky, while his friend froze in fear. "Run!" his friend shouted. High above, a massive figure circled, its wings stretched wide, blocking the sun, and its body looked larger than any bird Matteo had ever seen. The ground shook as it landed, wings spread like a dark cloak. Matteo's friend collapsed in terror, but Matteo stayed still. Something in those eyes felt familiar. Then the giant bird rushed straight toward him. Matteo braced himself. His friend screamed, but instead of attacking, the condor leapt into his arms. Matteo gasped in shock. "Luna, is that you?" The giant bird pressed her bald head against his chest, just as she had done when she was small. In that instant, Matteo knew. The tiny chick he had once rescued had grown into a colossal bird, yet she still remembered the man who had saved her life. His fear melted away. From that moment, Matteo realized Luna wasn't dangerous to him. She walked beside him around the ranch, inspecting the familiar places she had once known. His friend, still trembling, rushed into the house and pulled raw steak from the fridge. He knew condors were fierce eaters, and he feared Luna might turn wild with hunger. But when he came back outside, steak in hand, he froze. Both Matteo and Luna were gone. Panic shot through him. He followed the sound of cattle grunting near the barn, terrified of what he might see. What if Luna had attacked? What if Matteo was hurt? He ran as fast as he could, heart pounding, until he reached the barn. But the scene before him was nothing like what he feared. Matteo sat on the ground, smiling gently, while Luna rested her great head in his lap. Her massive wings were folded neatly against her sides, and she leaned into him like a pet begging for comfort. The friend stood speechless, unable to believe his eyes. News of Luna's return spread quickly once Matteo shared his story online. People from around the world reacted with amazement. Many praised his kindness and bravery, saying the bond between man and bird was something extraordinary. Others were less impressed. They warned that wild animals should never be trusted, no matter how gentle they appeared. But for Matteo, it didn't matter what people thought. To him, this was more than a story. It was a miracle. He explained that he had never tried to tame Luna. His only wish had been to help her heal and give her the chance to live freely. The fact that she remembered him and chose to come back was a gift beyond words. Luna's return was special, but it was not entirely unheard of. Around the world, there are stories of animals who never forget the people who once showed them kindness. In the 1960s, 2 men in London raised a lion cub named Leonidas. When he grew too large, they released him into the wild in Kenya. A year later, when they returned to see him, they feared he would no longer recognize them. Instead, Leonidas ran to them joyfully, wrapping his massive paws around their shoulders in an embrace. If a lion could remember, perhaps birds could too. Since that day, Luna has continued to visit Matteo. Sometimes she comes quietly, gliding down from the mountains like a shadow. Other times she arrives boldly, landing in the middle of the ranch and startling the cattle before settling by his side. Each time, the ritual is the same. She presses her head against his chest, asking for the comfort only he can give. For Matteo, these visits are a reminder that kindness is never forgotten. He never expected thanks, but Luna gave it to him in the most extraordinary way possible. And though the future is uncertain, Matteo often wonders what will happen when Luna one day returns with a family of her own. Perhaps she will introduce him to her chicks, just as he once found her so many years ago. For now, he is simply grateful for her friendship, a bond between man and bird that defies everything we thought we knew about the wild.